My next guest, Peter Navarro, is the White House Senior Counselor for Trade and Manufacturing. He wrote an op-ed today making the case that tariffs will save American jobs. I spoke to him a short while ago. Trump has said repeatedly that it's a myth that American consumers pay for tariffs. He says it's the countries like China, Canada, and Mexico who will pay the tariff. Can you explain that? Most economists say that's dead wrong.
Well, most economists argued that the tariffs in the first term would be highly inflationary. After we put historic tariffs on China, steel and aluminum, dishwashers, solar, we had zero inflation. All we had was price stability and growth. Now, from an economic point of view, if I give you the more textured view of this instead of the knee-jerk one, I can go through the following. The first thing that happens when export-dependent countries that rely on the biggest market of the world here in America are faced with a tariff, they have to keep selling into the market. So the first thing they do is lower their price and eat the tariff. And that's a big bite out of the tariff. The next thing that happens is as the tariffs help reduce our trade deficit, that drives the value of the dollar up, both through market forces and often through the currency manipulation of countries like China. Now, what's a stronger dollar do, Elizabeth? A stronger dollar means that people here in America have more money to pay for imports, so that's lowers inflation. The third thing that happens is we see supply chain movements. If, for example, the supply chain was favoring China, it might move to Vietnam. So you take a little increment of that. Most importantly, for me, over the longer run, as the head of the Office of Trade Manufacturing, what we have is massive amounts of investment come into America to avoid the tariffs. For example, when we put the steel tariffs on, we had $15 billion of investment in our steel industry. Now, why does that matter? It matters because when you have more capital, more machinery per worker, then productivity goes up and real wages, that is adjusted for inflation, go up. So people are able to stretch their dollar further. So for all of those reasons, and then, okay, go ahead, your turn. I've walked you through the economics of it as it should be taught.
I understand, and I also understand that there are a lot of opposing views on the economics of this. A lot of manufacturers, even in America, who import parts of the things that they make, say for cars, for example, parts of those cars come from Canada, come from Mexico. Auto manufacturers, American auto manufacturers, have said we will have to raise prices because of these tariffs. And in the past, we have seen tariffs lead to increased prices. China doesn't say, I'm going to just pay 10% more. They charge the company that's importing the stuff from China 10% more, which then passes that on to the American consumer, you and me, at the store buying this product.
Elizabeth, that's not what happens. We know that's not what happens. We've seen what's not happened. China eats it. But let's take the auto industry. I mean, first of all, we're in a situation now where, for example, Germany, which has much higher tariffs on American cars, and a VAT tax, which acts both as a tariff and an export subsidy, sells us 8 times as many cars as we sell them. So clearly, that's not good for America, and a tariff on autos would do tremendous benefit for the auto industry. But let's take something like aluminum, right? There's about 500 pounds of aluminum in the average car. How much would that add to the price of that car? If it were totally passed through, about $100, about $120. 12-pack aluminum cans for soda or beer, that's about 6 cents. So when you actually do the math, it gives you a completely different story. But then when you add the analysis I did for you, that the producers eat it, that the dollar is stronger, that the supply chain shift, that the real wages go up because of higher productivity. And here's the thing, Elizabeth. This is our trump card, literally. We heard all of this rhetoric, all of it in the first term, from academics, from the media, from everybody in between, from K Street lobbyists. Inflation, recession, it didn't happen. It didn't happen because of the reasons I'm telling you. So that's That's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I got the facts on my side on this.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.